meditation connected with that. And so if somebody, who's got the magic stick? Annie Barbara's got the magic stick. Annie Barbara, would you like to give it on to someone else? And could they read verse 23, which we have already been, right through to the end now? Who's going to be the volunteer to do that?
No, you.
Can I read the one on emptiness? It's just a very nice chapter. So could you just make
Hold it up.
Okay. Could you please repeat the
So
numbers?
from verse 23, so it begins just as the previous Sugatas, and then all the way through to the end. So that's another 8 chapters. No, just to verse 34.
Very rare.
So maybe 2 people can do it. So Rad, you do it until verse 29, and then hand it on to someone else. Yep. No, he's got about 7 or 8. So 23 to 29, including 29. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So just as the previous Sugatas generated mind of enlightenment, and just as they dwelt according to the stages in the trainings of a Bodhisattva, likewise for the benefit of migrating beings, I shall generate the mind of enlightenment, and likewise I shall learn the trainings according to the stages. Those intelligent ones who have concluded lucidly seizing the mind of enlightenment in this way, but in order to increase it, they should highly praise it in the following manner. Now my life is fruitful. I have attained a good human existence. Today I have been born in the Buddha lineage, and I have become a child of the Buddha. Now, whatever happens, I will act to not sully this flawless holy Buddha lineage, initiating actions concordant with this lineage. Just like a blind man discovering a jewel in a heap of rubbish, likewise, by some coincidence, this mind of enlightenment has been born within me. This is also the supreme ambrosia that overcomes the Lord of Death of migrating beings. This is also the inexhaustible treasure that eliminates all poverty of migrating beings.
Thank you.
And can I quickly only ask, because you've been very kindly laughing at Sully when I said that. How did I say that?
Sully means to dirty.
Oh, did I say it properly?
Sully. Yeah. You remember Monsters, Inc.? Remember the big blue monster in Monsters, Inc.? He was called Sully. That means to dirty, to, like if you have a clean cloth and you sully it, you get muck on it. So.
3:30. This is the supreme medicine that quells the disease of migrating beings too. It is the tree of rest for migrating beings wandering and weary on the path of conditioned existence. It is the universal platform that leads all migrating beings to freedom from the bad migrations. It is the dawning moon of the mind that dispels the torment of afflictions of migrating beings. It is the great sun that annihilates the cataracts of ignorance of migrating beings. It is the quintessential butter from the churning of the milk of the Holy Dharma. For all those guests who are migrating beings journeying on the path of psychic existence, who wish to utilize the resources of happiness, this will place the great travelers of sentient beings in supreme happiness and satisfy them. Today, in the presence of all the protectors, I invite the migrating beings to be guests, in happiness until they attain the state of Sugata. May gods, anti-gods, and so forth be joyful.
Thank you. Okay, so as we said before, verse 23 and 24 are the nub of these chapters. This is when we, having encouraged ourselves and made spiritual energy, that courage, in a sense, to take up the mind of enlightenment, to try for becoming fully enlightened for the sake of all, this is when we actually do it, in these two verses. And as we know, there's aspiring to and there's actual engaging in, and they're not so separate in the sense that if you just aspire to it and you never try to be generous or moral, or nothing's going to happen in our tradition. So we're always mixing in the beginning with us. We're aiming for these high things, but we're gradually doing bit by bit. So if you have taken the Bodhisattva vow, so if you've done it through a ceremony or you've attended an initiation where that's been part of the deal, then you can use this text to renew that sense of working for the sake of others, working to become fully enlightened for the sake of others, that need to help others be free of suffering, including ourselves. It's all beings, includes ourselves. And then it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've had all the kind of really admiring, really, great admiration and homage, prostration, namaskara, all this devotion or whatever you want to say for these things, prostration. Then it's generosity, a mental generosity, a mental openness, and then it's an admission that we are flawed beings, but we're moving in the right way. We're trying to move in the right way. A rejoicing, particularly in the extraordinary qualities of Bodhicitta, and therefore the extraordinary qualities of Bodhisattvas and Buddhas. And then requesting to teach, requesting to stay, and then that energy dedicating not just to full enlightenment, but may I do this for sentient beings, may I do that for sentient beings, may I be this kind of person for sentient beings, all of that coming. And then we take up, we say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to try, and rather than just admire it, I'm going to try and do something with this, both in terms of aspiring to do that, but also in terms of starting to practice things that will encourage that mind of bodhicitta to grow inside us. And then the rest of it is kind of saying, how extraordinary, I've actually done it. This suddenly, what's the 326, now my life is fruitful. I have attained a good human existence. Today I've been born in the Buddha lineage. I've become a child of the Buddha. So that sense of, in the Heart Sutra, when we talk about, what did we say in the Heart Sutra? That's have I heard. And any son of the daughter of the lineage, same. So you become son or daughter of the lineage because you've produced or are trying to produce bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. And then it's just recognizing how extraordinary that whole thing is that we've done, what we've done, like a blind man discovering a jewel in a heap of rubbish. Does that ring a bell? Exactly, the 9 similes of Buddha nature. One of them is
the exact example we just said.
Yeah. One of them is finding something very precious in a heap of rubbish, and there are all the other ones, if you remember, of living in poverty, but underneath the floor of the house there being something incredibly valuable. So not recognizing that we have that capacity, that potential, that extraordinary power. They all speak across to each other, these texts, in some sense. Supreme ambrosia that overcomes the lord of death of migrating beings. What do you think that's about? What's the supreme ambrosia? What sorts everything out in the end? And if you give it a name of a Buddha body, what would you call it? Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya, yeah. Dharmakaya, the inexhaustible treasure, the supreme medicine, universal platform, great sun, quintessential butter. I mean, there are a whole load of images, and we can use them in our meditations to reinforce that sense of this is something extraordinary. Not in a kind of, I'm so proud type thing, but just this is something extraordinary. And it says, should highly praise it in the following manner in verse 325. It's the whole point is you're not just bigging it up in that sense. It's about recognizing how extraordinary this whole process has been, and congratulating yourself for stepping out, stepping on to something, going for something much bigger than we've ever done before, much bigger than we've ever done before, and we need to kind of encourage ourselves to keep with it, not just fall back, So, just a couple of points. 33 and 34. For all those guests who are migrating beings, journeying on the path of psychic existence, who wish to utilize the resources of happiness, this will place the great travelers of sentient beings in supreme happiness and satisfy them. Today, in the presence of all the protectors, I invite the migrating beings to be the guests in happiness until they attain the state of Sugata. May gods, anti-gods, and so forth be joyful. Others have translated that as, I invite the migrating beings to be my guests in happiness. So, following the Lama Zopa's tendency to by myself alone, it's, we say this, I am inviting sentient beings to be guests in happiness. In other words, I'm the host. I'm hosting these people. I'm looking after them. I can't remember when it was, but there was a time when it was quite difficult here, and there was Roy in the office, and I was in the office, and we were going through a bit of a kind of phase, complaining. And then Rinpoche, as he often does, sends out these things, and he was saying, for all of you who recite this thing every day, I invite the migrating beings to be my guests in happiness. You can't complain, you invited them in. Both of us thought, he's got a point there. But these things, I keep on banging on about it, but you can just take one verse here and just think about it and just see how you react to it. But they're all, there are so many beautiful thoughts, so many vast, expansive thoughts in this text, that to try for that, to play for that, there's just nothing better we can do with our lives. If you think about Bodhicitta, imagine yourself as Mike Murray. Have that as a horror movie in your head, Mike Murray. All these things that Mike Murray finds difficult, people, all those kinds of things. How can that be changed? How can he not do that when he gets the mind of Bodhicitta? Because then people, instead of being demanding and irritating and all that, suddenly become, this is the most precious jewel who ever walked into my life. This person will give me the chance to become fully enlightened for the benefit of others by helping me grow up, And if I met everybody like that, however happy, angry, all the rest of it, I would have no problems. Nothing at all would trouble me, would it? Let's be honest, nothing. nothing. So that's just in its own right to stop Mike Murray being mad, then definitely bodhicitta is best. I mean, that all your problems go away, don't you? Remember that thing from the Losang Jinpa's text, you know, may my mind become Dharma, may my Dharma become a path, may my path be free of obstacles. Or, if you're putting it in the kind of Lam Rin speak, may I do good deeds in order to ensure good rebirth in the next life. May I stop being obsessed with samsara and try and break free. And then all my obstacles are removed by the mind of bodhicitta. If I develop that mind of bodhicitta, nothing is a problem anymore. Nothing is a problem because everything is grist for the mill. Everything is a chance to grow spiritually. And to have that attitude to life, wow, you know, really, that would be something. That would be something. You know, I don't have it, but I can really see that would be something, yeah? Okay, so if there are no particular comments that anyone wants to do, I would like to do one more meditation, and this is basing on that taking up the mind of bodhicitta, you know. So however you want to play that, whether you want to admire that, or whether you want to say, I've taken all these initiations, I've been through all these ceremonies, and I'm supposed to have taken up the mind of bodhicitta, I should reinforce that, I should renew my commitment to that, whatever it is, but let's use this, 10 or 15 minutes to just do that, because that's the point of this text. That's the point of coming here to look at this text, is to develop that mind. So the verses are verse 23 and 24. Just as the previous Sugatas generated the mind of enlightenment, and just as they dwelt according to the stages in the trainings of a Bodhisattva, likewise, for the benefit of migrating beings, I shall generate the mind of enlightenment. And likewise, I shall learn all the trainings according to the stages. Thank you. That's it. Game over. We do prayers, Tara prayers, and Steph has very kindly agreed to lead us through the prayer that spontaneously fulfills all wishes with the tune. And my request is if you could do it 7 times, so that hopefully by the end of it we're up with you, because it'll be you on your first, and then it'll be you with me grumbling in the background, and then people. But by 7 times, hopefully we'll have locked some of it in our head, because it's a beautiful tune.
I've got it recorded.
Have you?
I've recorded Steph all the, yeah.
Fantastic. Can you play it through the sound system? Okay.
Now?
Yeah.
I'll just put it on my...
No, I'm just teasing. But next time.
Does she really need to do it 7 times?
Well, it depends if everyone thinks they can get it by 3. That's fine. Okay. We'll do it by 3. Do it by 3. Okay. So page 28. Praises to the Taras. Oh, sorry. Turn this off. Bye, internet people.